Excellent, and welcome to part two of the TADSummit Podcast, number 3, the Truth in Telecoms section. So welcome, Johnny.
Hello, Alan. I'd love to see the haircut. There you go.
I know, and I got it cut with my son as well. So he got his haircut, and I got my haircut. So it was maximizing available time.
There you go. Although the kind of wacky professional look fit you good. You can pull it off based on who you are.
Thank you so much.
At the end of the day.
Exactly.
But
so we're going to wing it with this one. I mean, there's a lot of things we'd like to say.
Look, there's. I'll just cut you off real quick, which I like doing sometimes. Look, I think a lot of stuff that we talked about that was going to come out. There's some pretty big news coming, or maybe not. You know, some of the what I'm passionate about is some of the whistleblowers that have now found lawyers that are equal and even better than the other sides. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
And but we'll talk about some of the other things that along the way we found out. I mean, one thing is interesting, and I got a lot of feedback over the last week from people on why are you so calm and why is this, and you answer certain questions, and oh, by the way, Rick Joyce was the chair of the telecommunications division at Venable that he built from the ground up right when AT&T broke up. He wanted to make sure that he corrected me on that one, Rick.
Oh,
so Venable is a huge firm in DC. Rick built the telecom division and then handed it over to Jamie Barnett, the admiral, who took over after he left, and he went to the Coast Guard and what have you. But so I wanted to make sure I clarify that. But look, I think what you're doing right now in the industry is really important. I mean, the gentleman that founded the CPaaS Acceleration Alliance made a nice comment this morning.
Yeah, Kevin.
And he made a comment that I haven't really heard too much on. Thank you for what you're doing for the industry, because it seems like nobody really wants to talk about what we're talking about. It's like I was flipping around last night and saw the Fight Club. It's like, first rule of Spam Club is nobody wants to talk about Spam Club, and it's a problem. And a lot of companies are making money off spam for whatever reason. Whether they have to hit their numbers or whether they don't know. I mean, the funny thing is, look, Calera got kicked out of Ireland for spam.
Yep.
And they own the United States campaign registry.
Yeah.
That's okay. But that's another conversation.
Exactly.
And had some conversations with some companies that, weren't even aware until yesterday on what's going on. The smaller companies. And I'm like, hey, did you know about the discount that Twilio is getting? They're like, discount? I mean, one thing we didn't talk about is when I was working with Avi Katz, real quick, I'll jump into it.
Yeah.
Trying to settle with one of the whistleblowers, and the whistleblower was actually working with an internal investigation of the company. And I told him, I don't think Avi really understands all this stuff. And when he found out the level of discount that Twilio was getting, he was like, why? They have to use it. I mean, so you want to send a campaign, you have to register with the campaign registry.
Exactly.
Twilio had a ridiculous discount until I brought it up to Avi, and obviously the whistleblower did as well. And that seemed to change a couple of weeks later, although I still think they're getting a discount. But just talking about the old boy network or the monopolistic practices and just unfair what happened over there. But I wanted to just touch upon that because I know obviously everybody wants to talk about the 800-pound gorilla in our little room.
Exactly. Oh, yeah. Well, they dominate the traffic through the campaign registry. They are.
Yeah, I mean, look, and then they invest the investment they made in Cineverse in a competitor, by the way. So they invested in a competitor for what reasons? Maybe they got directs. I don't know, but the company that started it all and fought everybody seems to have kind of jumped on the other side of the fence for whatever reasons. I guess they had to. I mean, really, because
to become profitable. I mean, the profitability remained an issue. And by becoming part of the old boy network, it then gives them access at significant.
Well, it gives them control over the U.S. market, which Root Mobile kind of brought up. Why can't we
Yes.
get in? We do it everywhere else. Well, maybe you want to dig a little deeper on that one,
Exactly.
on why, and
Oh yeah.
maybe you don't have you're not throwing enough money around, or what have you.
It's money they don't have available, because let's face it, they bought ZipWhip 750, then the 850 mil,
850. And I love those kids at ZipWhip. I mean, I watched those two kids start, James and Lauer. I mean, talk about smart kids. Just talk.
Oh, yeah.
Lauer could talk his shorts off you, and James is a brilliant CTO. And look, they made it profitable for the operators.
Yep.
And they created a situation where I guess Twilio got tired of suing them and getting shut off by them. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And,
on the CX Tech newsletter, I was commenting, on all the cases that Twilio had taken against them, but also, I mean, there were performance issues as well with it. Let's not pretend they were, doing the greatest of job. There was several reports written, around that as well.
No, I mean, look, for me, as far as what kind of job they're doing, I don't know. It's just the exit they got. I watched those guys first. I watched those guys start when they got their first contract. I don't think it was Frontier Telecom.
Oh, okay.
And I would go to their parties, and I just loved these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And they were hungry, they worked hard, and they outsmarted everybody. And we're good for them that they got $850 million. I mean, everybody was lining up for Twilio money. Everybody wanted to sell the Twilio. Except for my Tintech guys, who actually, I settled my suit. Funny story. Then I got contacted by Twilio, and they're like, "Hey, I hear you got peering agreements." I'm like, "Yeah, but I already made a deal with Tintech." Twilio actually flew to Germany, put a deal on a table for Thorsten.
Wow.
And he turned it down. And it would have been worth about 800 million at the point of the high price of Twilio. Okay. Probably now, you take it down, but he was smarter than Jeff Lawson. And
wow,
that's
I didn't realize that.
well, Thorsten's smarter than everybody. And in a lot of ways, on the technical side, he really is.
Yes, absolutely.
There's no question, but probably wasn't a good move. But at that point, I didn't really know the value of the assets. I just knew that I had $100 million claim against Cineverse and didn't really want to deal with this industry. And look at me now, 10 years later, I'm on the phone with you talking about this industry. But I think, what you're doing for the industry right now and some of the attacks that you've taken is really need to be credited. I mean, why are you doing this? What's making you tick?
Well, it's history. We have to look at history to understand why we're here today. So programmable comms has been something that I've been involved in for, several decades now. Yes, I started my career off back at BT Labs in the good old days when telcos used to do cool stuff, but I actually founded a company in the telecom API space called Teltia. That was 2000. So we talked down to the HLR, so that thing in mobile networks, and what we exposed was a presence API. So you knew if a mobile was on or not. Now this is 2000. So this is when people used to turn their mobile phones off. And also coverage was, even worse than it is today. So there were some carriers where, people would be in and out of coverage, and, they would receive calls and calls wouldn't, terminate, and people don't leave voice messages even back then. So we did a very dumb little service, missed call summary. So when she connected back to the network, that was a trigger, and that basically sent an SMS to the phone to say, hey, these people called you. So then you'd call back, because it's like, oh, Johnny's called me 3 times. I'd better call him back. Now, of course, coverage is far better today, so I can see you've called me 3 times, in the phone list. But when your phone was off or not connected to the network, you wouldn't get that information.
Oh, I can't tell you how many phones I threw against a wall in those days that I couldn't get through, couldn't talk to anybody. I'm like, why do we have these things?
Exactly. Yeah. So that ended up being sold through to Cisco. Some of the people, from Teltia are still in Cisco, so it's great to see. So from there, I then kicked off the consulting business. So I helped a whole range of companies in the programmable comms space in the sort of 2000s. So like Layer 7, they're an API management platform. So I got them into a number of telcos. I helped Camient. Now, they were initially focused on the cable space, and it was a network API, so a quality of service. So you could do like the turbo button. So you could ask for faster internet, please. And that was amazing experience. And I helped those guys get into a range of carriers, and also helped a number of carriers around exposing APIs, because carriers were first in this telecom API space, like Blue Via, which was Telefonica's sort of developer community. They exposed some APIs, and they actually did some really cool stuff. Again, this is back in the 2000s. So as a developer, you could build apps using their SMS API. And as a developer, you could share in the revenue created, because those are in the days when people would pay per SMS. And Telephone would say, hey, you're generating revenue on our network. Here, share, take some money. So, I mean, they were amazing, innovative ideas back then. But you know how it is with telcos, they keep listening to the GSMA, to the Telemanagement Forum, to the boot clubs, and consultants that work everything out from first principles. You know, industries, communities that just aren't software-centric. So, you know, it was successes and some failures, because Blue Via closed. It was a really sad day when they closed Blue Via down. I mean, I helped other operators where, you know, we get the plan together, and then they make the mistake of then talking to, you know, one of the big vendors or listening to one of the boot clubs. And then all of a sudden, a process that was, you know, similar to what Twilio's is, just sign up, credit card, go, became this long process where there was faxes involved and prepayments, and all, you know, it's just like, no developer is going to touch that process. But of course, you know, it happens when you don't partner right, or you don't listen to the right people. But the big thing that happened is we got to around 2010, all these open source projects were viable. They started back in 2000, 2002, 3, and they were now, you know, like Asterix, FreeSwitch, they were viable. And then we had this explosion of companies, startups like Tropo, Twilio, Appidays, and they were, you know, sort of around that sort of, you know, 2008, 9, 10, kicking off, building their platforms on open source, and you know, taking a web-centric approach to exposing programmable communications. So it was actually back in 2013, we had TADSummit, because there were all these companies starting up. And of course, you know, we wanted to provide a forum that focused on just two things: innovation. So we invited all the companies doing cool stuff, big and small, and no BS. Because, you know, in telecoms, big problem is just so much BS. And it's one of the reasons we have now the Truth in Telecoms podcast. So that all kicked off. Oh, it's just awful. And, you know, and it's a community that's just driven by creating value for customers. I mean, you'll have seen on LinkedIn, I did a, you know, TADSummit reunion where I was referring back to some of the old
it's amazing. It's amazing how many people were just excited about it, and the community that you built. And it's amazing how many people are listening to us. I'm staggered by it. And all comes from the great work that you've done. Because I remember, Thorsten, I remember you did an article about us and FinTech and my assets and whatever it was. And he would always say, yeah, he's really smart. I guess he was enamored by, you also had patents. Thorsten loves his patents. Yeah, you know, so
but, you know,
he was in that.
You know, when he bought the assets from Iris Wireless, I was like, hell, this is going to be cool. You know, finally, you know, we could get some disruption here. But, you know, I mean, unfortunately,
he would have disrupted quite a bit. They would have let him go. But you know, that's anyway, again, for another day. So, but as far as what you're doing right now and doing the TCR trilogy, and really coming to me speak, and the questions that we're talking about, and the notes that you're taking down, and you're really unraveling an ecosystem. And like I said, it's, you know, don't talk about spam club. First rule. And
exactly, because
you know, me, I'm getting people that don't even, like, friends that are like not responding to me. I'm like, what did I do? You're not supposed to talk about spam club.
Exactly, it's the truth. You know, because for me, it really was 2020. We had the pandemic, but also the whole, you know, CPaaS, programmable comms market, was reaching a point of maturity, and you know, there was some crazy valuations. I mean, you know, as you said, we've lost 200 billion off.
Oh, that's just between Twilio, RingCentral, you throw Cinch in there, you throw
Yep.
Bandwidth, you could throw, a few
Oh,
companies.
right.
If you take a look at the 3-year charts, I love these numbers. Oh, CPaaS, $100 billion market. No, actually, there was like a half a trillion,
Yes.
half a
Exactly.
$1 trillion market and gone
Yes.
overnight.
Yes.
How are they going to get that back? I don't know.
No, I mean,
which is really, we haven't really talked about the CPaaS M&A
yes.
fantasy league, which I think is important for the industry.
Yes.
I mean, even that report that the CPaaS Acceleration Alliance put together, whatever it is, I think is great for the industry. They need to grab onto something. A lot of these companies miss their exits.
Yes.
And we were talking about it before in our prior podcast. It's like, you got to hit your exit at the right time. I mean, Zipwhip, those guys, I mean, I think John Lauer's on a ranch somewhere, you know
Exactly.
what I mean? Herding cattle or something, but he caught his exit.
Yeah.
But, with the Vonage acquisition, which is, to me, is staggering.
Yeah.
The numbers that they got there. I mean, I was actually talking to the activist investors in Twilio.
Yes.
The ones that you talked about, Legion Partners, they were actually involved in Vonage. And I had a conversation with those guys, and he was like, yeah, we can't believe they offered us $6.8 billion. Like, the next offer was like $2 billion. He's like, shh, don't say nothing.
Yeah.
And they paid $6.8 billion for something. Why? It's got to be worth it to them.
Well, but it puts them in direct competition with their customers.
But I'm talking about CPaaS M&A.
Yeah.
If you can get an exorbitant amount of money for your company,
yes,
you take it, right?
Oh, yes,
so there's two goals here, right?
Yes.
There's people like your last guest that I hope people watch that podcast that we just did.
Aaron, yeah.
What is that? 3A? It's 3A.
That will be
right?
3A. We're 3B.
I mean, you talk about the intensity of this guy and the founder passion and what he's built.
Yes.
Really impressive.
Oh yeah.
You get guys like him, and then you got other companies, and I would put Thorsten in the same category as him.
Yeah.
Just guys that doing what they're doing and don't really care if they ever make money or cash out or whatever. But then you've got the companies out there that are working hard and they want that exit. I know quite a few of those as well. So
exactly.
I think yes, the market caps have been destroyed.
Exactly. But during those market caps, though, it created a whole host of greed because people just saw multi-millionaire numbers being sort of offered to them, and it's my view is it's created a lot of misbehavior.
They were buying email companies for $1 billion.
I know, it's crazy.
Unbelievable. I mean, literally email companies.
Yes.
We do email. Oh, here's $1 billion.
Yes.
Really?
And it contributes next to nothing, like less than 4% of their total revenue, yet they paid $1 billion for it. But that, I feel, that sort of 2021, 2022 really skewed, and some of what we're living with now in a very skewed playing field in programmable comms. Innovation is being stifled because you've got prices have increased, processes have become crazy, and risk exposure. And how does this fine system work? And is it on per SMS or whatever? We've got.
Well, the funny thing is, it's mostly SMS, mostly messaging, right? And right now, you've got talking to a buddy last night. He's like, you've got company yesterday, Harvard sending text messages. We're getting blocked. So you've got people that should be getting blocked, blocked.
Yes.
And then you got 50 billion spam messages of people that should be getting blocked. Why?
Yeah.
Well, back to the heart of it. Right. It doesn't work. I mean, campaign registry doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then you've got the complete cluster of pricing and the unfair business practices of it. Don't get me started on whatever you want to call it, unsanctioned monopoly or whatever it may be. Again, conceptually, I think it made sense, but I think it's important what you're doing for the industry. And I hope you continue to keep doing it. Nobody else is talking. Nobody else wants to pay attention to it. And they need to learn from it. The industry needs to learn from it and get stronger.
Exactly.
Because messaging is not going to go away.
No.
But it could go differently. I mean, look at WhatsApp. I mean, I hate it. I can't make a phone. I can't stay on a phone call. I hate the service. I hate having to call somebody. Oh, call me on WhatsApp. Why? Why can't I just call you on my phone? I mean, I pay a few extra dollars a month and I call everybody international. Like, well, why aren't you using WhatsApp? I'm like, I hate it. Keep getting dropped calls. And
it's not as
I'm
solid.
old school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and it's a segmented market, but
And it's encrypted. Wink, wink.
well, that one is
That's my favorite. It's encrypted, and the disappearing messages, and you disappear your messages.
again,
Yeah,
yeah, but
Goldman
that's not for
Sachs just got
old
hit with big
people
fines
like
on
us.
that.
It's for young people when they're pushing, sort of promoting or sending a picture from a party, and it's like people who want to watch it, and then it disappears. So there's no documentary evidence for the parents, So it's segmented. But the bottom line is what drives all this is innovation and truth. Innovation in cool companies that are to an extent being stifled because we've got large corporations that are just trying to dominate the industry and take an unfair share and penalize the small players. And that's going to be a death knell for programmable communications if it's just dominated by a few big players. You need, that vibrant ecosystem so you have lots of interesting new companies.
I think the big players have a problem. I think the soccer coach moms that need to get their messages to people that don't want to go into these other verticals are going to dominate. I think some of these nonprofits, I mean, don't even get me started on political testing. I mean, they can just spam, they can text you all they want, which is amazing. But look how important it is to everybody else everyday life.
Yeah.
And you have people, not getting the message that their car is fixed and ready and getting blocked, and then getting other messages from some guy who says, "Hey, how are you?" And a unique one the other day was some guy sent the text to my buddy it was like, "We're going to Taco Bell," and he did it on a chat. "We're going to Taco Bell," and the other guy's, "Yeah, I'll take 5 burritos," and I'm like, "No, don't click on that, man.
Yes,
you don't want to go there." It's like, who are these people? They're going to Taco Bell.
That's how crazy it's become. People are being advised not to click on links in SMS.
Chris Drake does it on every news channel. I mean, if you Google it, see all the news channels. And all they're like, well, don't click and don't click and don't this. But you have to. I mean, a lot of big companies like UPS and them are moving away from it because it's hurting their brand.
Yes.
So hopefully a lot of the stuff that you're putting out, and hopefully the industry starts really being concerned about this instead of just worrying about, well, how many messages are we pumping through and where are we getting it through? And
exactly.
But it's amazing how many impressions you're getting on LinkedIn. Although I was shadow banned, I believe. I don't get any more impressions. I got to stop doing it. But they haven't shadow banned you yet.
Not yet.
You're still getting people we're getting people to listen. But I think it's important because I've only known you now for a few months, which is amazing because we talk so much. And I'm just fascinated that you actually have the guts to go out and say things that nobody else would even say in private. They're like whispering it, like all the whispering at these shows. The shows are happening. Everybody's whispering in the side room, but meanwhile, you're saying it out loud, and you're going to start saying more stuff out loud. And
we will. No, absolutely. Although it's practice. I've been doing it for a few decades now. It's like when cameras started up.
But you haven't done it like this. You haven't really done it like this. You're really now digging into this thing and really writing reports and doing your own research and digging into stuff. And nobody's done this. Nobody wants to do it. So I think the industry owes you a little gratitude. And it was nice to see that guy, Kevin. What was his last name?
Kevin Nethercott.
Nethercott. Yeah. Nice to see him to actually give a thumbs up. And I think he just founded one of these other organizations. And you need those groups too. You need those events. People need to go meet with each other. They need to discuss things. They're important. Yeah. Although I think CPAS I think they all need to change to XPass, which I think because it puts everybody in the same group. I mean, enough with all these asses.
Oh yeah, it's asses everywhere. Although I would say
it's crazy
in the digging we've been doing, and I said it on the TCR trilogy. It's the more you uncover, it's just like a horrifically surreal Twilight Zone episode. I mean, you see.
Oh, and it's gonna get worse. I think we'll see. We'll see if the lawyers are handling it, but now there's a couple of serious lawyers. I mean, Calera's lawyers were destroying people because they're good. But now some guys on white horses came in. Let's see what they do. If not, you're going to be falling off your chair.
No, Because what amazes me is, when you look, I mean, let's just pick on, Calera, because I think it was like in April, they had the notice from the New York Stock Exchange for delisting. So you give them 45 days from that to say, well, here's a plan on how we can avoid delisting. And then
There's no plan. The plan that's being delisted, the bondholders will take over if this deal doesn't close.
exactly,
And,
because
Tata, who knows? I mean, they got to pay a coupon note
yes,
for 2 years on the debt.
yeah,
I don't know. Good chance that they end up renegotiating that debt later. I mean, I think their bonds are trading at like 65 cents now. It's like 95 cents.
yes,
That's another game
yep,
that you pointed out. There's people that sit all day long waiting for those bonds to go down and then take over the company. So
exactly,
look,
yeah.
it's amazing.
Well, it's the
what they
timing,
pulled off
because
here.
when you look at from that date in April, I think it was the 2nd of July was the 45 day waiting period, when notionally the New York Stock Exchange would have to respond in terms of, okay, is this plan viable or not? So that would be 2nd of July. Yet the offer from Tata came in on the 28th of June, and it was just like, ooh,
Yeah, they got to
close.
close. They got to close this deal probably. I mean, this deal's going to close with Tata, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't think CFIUS even knows where anything is. I don't think we're getting enough attention for whatever reason.
Yeah,
it is what, it is. It'll close, and Tata will take it over. And again, that's beside. I don't get it, but
yeah,
it is what it is, right?
Yeah,
There's
exactly
the M-Gage asset. They may want the connections there. Obviously, you have the campaign registry, which is like probably half of the margin of the entire company with 10% of the revenue. It's the only reason,
Yep.
It's a great asset.
Oh, yeah.
You must sign up here, unless you're Twilio, and you can sell it cheaper to your people than the other people can. Wink, wink.
Well, I mean, it's like, one of the people I know, and they registered with Twilio, and then I think without having to go through the TCR, they were registered via the TCR as well.
Yeah, it's a cluster. Who register? Who doesn't have to register? I mean, what companies are registering? The carriers,
and then there's carrier exempted as well as a category.
Yeah, it's a real cluster, but hopefully it gets fixed. Hopefully they clean this thing up.
Exactly.
But the most important thing is how much money the operators are making. So, there's some people out there going, "Oh, like Cineverse is touting a platform to connect directly to the carriers." Meanwhile, Twilio's, probably owns almost half. They got a few board members on there. Like, how does that work?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What is going on? You know what I mean? And other companies need to be paying attention to this more than me and you.
Oh,
you're doing everybody a service by pointing this out.
Yeah.
And we're getting a lot of attention, but not really where we should be getting it.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I would say, again, partly because TADSummit has always been programmable comms, the innovators. We're getting from all the innovators looking on and realizing that skewed playing field and understanding how skewed it is against them, but across the broader industry. I mean, I was on an Appledore podcast, and they were very frank. It's like, Alan, we love what you're doing. You've been around for over a decade, but you're not that well known in telecom. And all I can say is, well, I try my best. People who follow
you haven't gone public and done these different things. You're not that well known. But I think what you're doing, and if you keep going down that path, first get started on this, and then get into different opportunities, and because your community needs it, innovation's needed. People need messaging. People need the alerts.
Yes.
Dentists need to let you know when you're coming, and pick up your child at school at this time. And these are important things for everyday life. And the scams and the frauds are just absurd.
Yeah, exactly.
So hopefully we can keep going. And
exactly.
Next week we'll have maybe some more stuff or not, depending if they work it all out.
Crossed.
Yeah. Hopefully it all goes down that path. But I know you're working on part 4.
Yep.
Which is complicated on the pricing
part 4,
and the different
5, 6. Because I don't think we can put it into one article.
Well, I'm still waiting for I'm still waiting to get going with Tintech, because that's really gonna. It's really a Harvard lesson for founders and what to do, what not to do.
Exactly.
A combination of private equity and taking money and pathway and That's really I'm really excited about getting to work on that one.
Yeah, no, that'll be good because it will be a case study. I think that everybody in the industry needs to pay attention.
Yeah,
to.
and there's a lot to take out of it.
Yes, absolutely.
So
well, cool.
you know,
No,
but I think the industry owes you some gratitude. It was nice to see you get a thumbs up from the Kevin gentleman.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that was great. And again, thank you for all your help and support, Johnny.
Right. Look, you're bringing attention to something that I think is really important and that we've been fighting with. I mean, campaign registry needs to work.
Yes.
It needs to have numbers.
Yes.
Spam needs to be stopped.
Yes.
Fraud needs to be stopped. It can be.
Yeah.
And it needs to be independently owned in the US.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
Or at least go through certain CFIUS requirements.
Exactly.
To make it secure. So we'll see what happens. But going to be an interesting week.
Absolutely.
A lot of shows going on there too.
Yep. You take care. Thanks again, Johnny.
I'll talk to you later, my friend.